Chapter 61 Let Li Ying come out and die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the back mountain, there is the cave mansion of crazy tiger Li Ying. The old butler Ober paced back and forth slightly uneasily. He was waiting for the news that Han Yang had been killed. Han Yang was imprisoned in Sigua Cliff and had almost no power to resist. The Four Seasons Tower killer was bound to succeed in one fell swoop. If I can get rid of the inner worries of the young master, I think I can sleep peacefully in the future, but, for some reason, Ober always felt uneasy and irritable. No. There will never be any surprises. That Shuzi is only at the 3rd level of bone forging. Even if he is all forged into golden bones, he will still be no match for the 7th level bone forging killer in the Four Seasons Tower. Ober murmured to himself, but he couldn't tell whether he was speaking to others or to comfort himself. Suddenly, his ears twitched, his steps suddenly stopped, and he looked towards the door. The next moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. Ober. A Yuanmen disciple from the Li family ran into the room in a panic. Han Yang. After wondering for a long time, he actually didn't say anything. Zheng. The next moment, the sound of a knife echoing through the night sky explained everything for him. Han Yang, here we come. Ober flashed his figure and rushed out of the room. Not far from the entrance of the cave, I saw Han Yang, dressed in white robes. He was not stained by blood, but he was holding a bloody human head in his hand, as many as 4. At Han Yang's feet lay the headless bodies of 2 Li family disciples. Ober couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Those 2 disciples, one at the 5th level of bone forging and the other at the 6th level of bone forging, were killed by Han Yang silently. How strong is this kid? Let Li Ying come out and die. Han Yang tossed it casually, and 4 heads flew up and were thrown in front of Ober. When he saw that one of the heads was still covered with a mask, Ober's pupils suddenly tightened. The Four Seasons Tower killer. The killer of the Four Seasons Tower, who was at the 7th level of bone forging, died in Han Yang's hands just like this. He took a deep breath. The next moment, when it became clear that Han Yang was alone, the solemn look on Obo's face suddenly turned into a joke. Little beast, if you don't take the road to heaven, there is no door to hell, but you have to break in. You are an arrogant young man, and you came here to die on your own. Ha 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 ha. At the end of the sentence, Ober looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Before he could finish his laughter, his body shook with thunderous sounds of tigers and leopards, and his muscles and bones roared together. He was a peak 7-level bone forging expert who had tempered more than 100 bones. In the realm of bone forging, the further you go, the greater the disparity in strength becomes. The 2nd level of bone forging is heavier than the 1st level of bone forging. It just has 1 more bone. The 7th level of bone forging covers a huge gap from 64 to 127. A person at the peak of the 7th level of bone forging can easily kill a person who has just entered the 7th level of bone forging in an instant. The Four Seasons Tower killer, who had only tempered 64 bones, could not block Ober's move at all. Han Yang was known as a genius, so Obo didn't dare to kill him personally, but who knew he was so bold as to come here single-handedly? Break into the cave without permission, plot evil, and kill people in public. How can you blame yourself for killing him? Oh. It seems that if you want to kill the tiger, you must first kill the old dog like you who is working for the tiger. Han Yang was holding the snow-defying knife. There was a ray of blood surging on the blade. 4 people were killed one after another. 2 of them also possessed the 7th level of bone forging, and the 4 elephant curse seals on the snow-defying knife had already reached 8 levels of power. Act recklessly. Ober stepped on the ground with his left foot, and with a roar, the stones under his feet exploded, and countless pieces of gravel shot towards Han Yang like sharp arrows. At the same time, his right fist was like a dragon, blasting directly towards Han Yang's face with an explosion of energy. It is actually one of Yuanmen Zhenzong's secret arts, the 13 movements of Yuendo. This person's boxing skills have obviously been immersed in for many years, and are much better than the swordsmanship of Shiman Sheng and others. Facing the punches coming from all directions, Han Yang held the knife in his hand and used the 4 symbols cursed seal knife without hesitation. White tiger killed. The blade was covered with blood. Red and white glowed into a magnificent sword light in the night. The clouds follow the dragon. the wind follows the tiger. The white tiger with the 4 symbols cursed seal sword kills at a speed beyond imagination. Even though Bo was prepared for Han Yang's strength, he was caught off guard by this sword attack, bang bang. With 2 crisp sounds, his sleeves exploded, and the gold and iron arm guards on his arms were cut into pieces by the blade. Blood flowed down his arm. Is it a spiritual weapon? Ober's pupils suddenly shrank, and he no longer confronted Han Yang head-on. Instead, he used his flying and moving skills and began to deal with Han Yang. He wanted to wait for Li Ying to break through the barrier and come out to fight against him. It's a pity that Han Yang will let him succeed. The 16 golden bones on both arms flashed with light, and at the same time, violent star power surged rapidly in the 5 major acupoints. In an instant, he gathered all his power into one sword. What a pity. On the stairs to the sky, Yantie was slashed out by Han Yang with a knife that was filled with endless regret. Do you want to hide? I want to go head-on. The shrill light of the sword was like weeping. Ober, who was wandering around, felt his head buzzing and his whole body froze. Knife intention. Ober immediately realized that he had been attacked, but it was too late to resist. Han Yang's sword intent was so swift that he couldn't resist it. His fist melted like ice and snow when it collided with Han Yang's sword intention. Yuan Do, Ober yelled angrily, and when he was about to use his supreme fist power to shatter the sword intention of Zanshin Yida, Han Yang's blade had already fallen. In his pupils, there was only the strange white color of Qishu Dao. His skeletal strength exploded to its peak, and Ober tried to block this shocking sword blow with his arms. It's just, how can a flesh and blood body compare with a spiritual weapon? Puff! The arms were broken in response, and the blade's sharpness remained unabated. It slashed down from Ober's neck, dragging out a streak of sharp blood. A large mouthful of blood overflowed from Ober's mouth, and his eyes were full of disbelief. After only 2 days of entry, he cut off the peak of the 7th level of bone forging with a sword. Could it be that Han Yang's strength is more evil than Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal? My young master will definitely take your life. That the vitality of the 7th level peak bone forging warrior is really strong. After slitting his throat with a knife, he can still vibrate with energy and yell out his last words. Today, I am here to kill him. Han Yang continued to move forward without raising his head. Behind him, Ober's eyes widened in anger, his body with a dead look on his face, and he suddenly fell down. You. The disciple of the Li family who tipped Bo earlier was already frightened. Ober is at the peak of the 7th level of bone forging. Even if he is just an ordinary bone forging, he is still a strong man who can suppress one party. If he hadn't served crazy Tiger Li Ying, the Li family's #1 genius, with Bo's strength, even the Lord of Taiching City and the guarding general would have paid 3 respects when they met. But now, this great master, one of the 3 powerful men of the Li family, was actually killed by Han Yang with 2 swords. This disciple was so terrified that he couldn't even move his feet to escape. Crazy Tiger Li Ying, where is he in seclusion? Let him come out to see me. Han Yang's indifferent gaze swept across the other party like a knife. The latter's knees softened, and he knelt on the ground with a thud, trembling and said, Han. Young Master Yang. Young Master, he is not in the cave. Han Yang's eyes turned cold. Aren't you here? The disciple of the Li family was so frightened that he almost lost control and shouted hurriedly, Young Master is in seclusion in the open, but secretly went to the ruins of Yanhua Valley. I didn't lie. Don't kill me. This person was completely frightened by Han Yang. You went to Yanhua Valley. It doesn't matter. Sooner or later, if you die, I will let you live for a few more days. Han Yang put his sword into its sheath and prepared to go down the mountain to Yanhua Valley. At this moment, there was a sharp sound of breaking through the air. The 3 figures were as nimble as apes, leaping up from the cliff. You are an extremely evil person. Han Yang, die for me. That the leader was none other than the furious-looking law enforcement Hull. Elder Gu. At this time, the ancient elder's clothes were flying, his breath was surging, all the strength of his body's bones was activated, the light was like the bright moon, and his anger was stronger than thunder. Chapter 62 I've long been unhappy with you, an old guy. You are listening at novelfull.audio.
Elder Gu was originally stubborn, coupled with preconceptions. I felt that Han Yang was arrogant and had a perverse personality. Now Han Yang went back to the cliff and killed Oyunzi, who was at the 7th level of bone forging, which directly aroused his raging anger. Show no mercy, even if Han Yang is not abolished, he must be taught a profound lesson. At the peak of bone forging, his attacks were so domineering. With one palm strike, the surrounding air was directly blown away and exploded into a flaming lotus. Yuanmen's secret skill, the 13 moves of Yuendo. Putting it in the hands of the ancient elder at the peak of bone forging, it was completely different from what Bo and Yunzi used. It was like two completely different skills. The ancient elder's palm seemed to envelop the world between it. Stop! In the distance, Tianji, the deputy sect leader, also came at a lightning speed. Seeing that the ancient elder actually killed Han Yang, his eyes were filled with jealousy. The distance was too far and he had no time to rescue. He could only watch helplessly as Elder Gu slapped him down with an earth-shattering palm. You are stubborn and don't know the difference between right and wrong. I have long been unhappy with you, this old guy. Take my knife. A sharp light flashed in Han Yang's eyes. He drew his sword out of its sheath and made a starting gesture. The 4 elephants cursed the sword, and the white tiger killed him. The next moment, within Han Yang's body, 16 golden bones were shining with golden light, and starlight was flowing in the 5 major acupoints of perineum, Yutang, Purple Palace, Huagai, Tiantu, and Renmai. His energy reached an unprecedented peak. The snow-defying knife in his hand drew a killing arc. Cut. The ancient elder's eyes were full of coldness and contempt. He was planning to use his palm to let this arrogant and ignorant junior know the meaning of superiority and inferiority, and what the rules were. However, the moment Han Yang slashed with his sword, his expression changed wildly. Too fierce. This sword, with unparalleled power, was like an ancient ferocious beast, white tiger, rushing towards him, making the ancient elder feel insignificant for the first time in front of a 5th level bone forging junior. The palm wrapped in the light of the bone forging collided hard with the white tiger that chose people to devour. Stab! The sound of broken gold foil sounded, and Elder Gu felt a chill in his sleeves, and a long gash was cut out of his sleeves. Blood flowed down the broken clothes. Han Yang's knife left a mark on his arm. Although it wasn't deep, it really hurt him. How can it be? Elder Gu looked confused. He is at the pinnacle of bone forging. Even if he only has ordinary bone forging, he has forged 206 bones, but now, he was actually injured by a 5th level bone forging junior. Is this kid really so outrageous? Boom! The sharp palm power of the ancient elder was torn apart by Hush's knife, grazing both sides of Han Yang's body and passing by. Behind Han Yang, all the stone tables, chairs, benches and other objects were shattered to pieces by an overbearing palm. Only Han Yang still stood proudly on the spot. His clothes were just blown by the force of his palm, making a hunting sound. Outside the cave, there was deathly silence. The 2 deacons of the law enforcement hall who followed the ancient elder looked at Han Yang standing with a knife in dumbfounded eyes, as if they had witnessed a miracle. The ancient elder who resisted the peak of bone forging didn't say anything, but Han Yang actually cut one of the elder's arms. Such combat power would never have been achieved by Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal from 3 years ago. Yuanmen, a dragon is about to appear. Even Tianji, who came at lightning speed, opened his mouth with disbelief on his face. He is the #1 swordsman of the Yuan sect, so he naturally knows how terrifying Han Yang's sword is. It's a pity that Han Yang is only at the 5th level of bone forging now. If he can reach 1 or 2 smaller realms, this sword can even kill the ancient elder at the peak of bone forging on the spot. Han Yang's sword was almost close, said. Junior. You. The ancient elder's face twitched, and his expression was gloomy, as if he was about to drip water. He was ready to strike again. He was stabbed by a junior who was at the 5th level of bone forging and had just entered the door a few days ago. Yes, his self-esteem was severely damaged. The majesty he had accumulated in punishing his disciples for decades was completely shattered by this sword. Although this sword failed to kill the ancient elder, it destroyed his majesty and his domineering spirit. What kind of appearance does an elder who was injured by the 5th level of bone forging have to enforce the law strictly in front of other disciples? Subconsciously, Elder Gu had the urge to kill Han Yang regardless of the consequences. Humatsu.
That's enough." A strong wind blew beside him, and the deputy sect leader Tianji finally arrived. He stood in front of Han Yang without hesitation and shouted coldly, "As a peak bone forging elder, you actually attack a new disciple. Is this the rule of your law enforcement hall, that even if Han Yang does not worship him as his teacher, such a genius of swordsmanship must be protected? It can be said that this is the hope for Yuanmen's rise in the next 20 years. Elder Gu said angrily, "Deputy Sect Master Tian." The little beast went back to Siguoya and beheaded Jiang Ke, who was guarding Siguoya. "Oh Yunzi, the deacon of the outer sect, is an unforgivable crime. Do you still want to protect him?" Tianji said with a dark face, "Gu Song. Which of your eyes saw Han Yang thinking about crossing the cliff? He went to Yanhua Valley for a trial in my name." "What?" Elder Gu only felt that his old face was burning with pain. He had just imprisoned Han Yang in Sigua Cliff yesterday, but today Tianji used his authority as the deputy sect leader to let Han Yang go to the Yanhua Valley ruins for a trial. This is a slap in the face of the law enforcement hall. Slap him in the face. Humph. Even so, it is still a felony for him to wantonly kill his fellow disciples. Not daring to face the deputy sect leader who was a powerful chi gatherer, Elder Gu could only hold on to Han Yang. Han Yang said calmly from the side, "Oh Yunzi, guarding Jiang Ke with Sigua Cliff, colluded with the assassins of Four Seasons Tower, and assassinated the general genius in Sigua Cliff. Elder Gu, you ignored me and instead held me tight. Excuse me, are you the elder of the law enforcement hall of my Yuanmen, or a lackey of the Li family?" Elder Gu's face turned red. In Yuanmen, colluding with the Nine Cities clan was not a crime, but it was still disgraceful. Han Yang's words almost nailed him to the pillar of shame. It was only then that he saw that among the four heads on the ground, there was actually a masked killer of the Four Seasons Tower. Colluding with the Four Seasons Tower to assassinate geniuses who are ranked on the general list within the Yuan sect is by no means a trivial matter, not to mention, Han Yang was still ordered to leave Sigua Cliff, not escaping without permission at all. For a moment, Elder Gu was covered in wax, unable to move or move. Tianji did not continue to pay attention to Gu Song, but looked at Han Yang with burning eyes and said, "Boy Han, if you accept me as your teacher, all the wealth I have accumulated in 300 years will be given to you to improve your strength." 10 years. No, within 5 years, even if I use the elixir to build a peak bone forging peak for you, how about that? Han Yang's talent in the art of swordsmanship made him want to take on a disciple again. If such an unnatural talent appears, if he is not accepted as his disciple, he will be punished by God. Han Yang cupped his hands and smiled, "Thank you, Deputy Sect Master, for your kindness. However, I have an appointment with Xianxia. I can only live up to the Deputy Sect Master's good intentions." After being reborn in the 9th life, how could Han Yang be willing to have an extra master weighing down on his head? Hearing the name of Xianxia, Tianji looked helpless and sighed, "My fair lady, gentlemen are so jealous. I understand. It's hard for a hero to be a beauty, but Tianji is a rough guy, and he is not as good as Li Xuanyu, the wine and swordsman who has conquered the country and the city." Tianji never thought that one day he would be defeated by a woman's beauty. Just when Tianji was still trying to persuade him, Han Yang suddenly had a thought in his mind and cupped his hands and said, "Without further delay, I am in a hurry to go to Yanhua Valley, so I will take my leave first." After saying that, before Deputy Sect Master Tian could continue to speak, he disappeared into the night without looking back. Elder Gu was just about to move when he was glared coldly by Tianji and could only stand there angrily. A few breaths later, another figure came from a distance and suddenly appeared in front of the cave. "What about that little guy who kills people and causes trouble? Let him think back over the cliff and let me temper his temper." The person who came was the leader of the Yuan sect. He Wantong. When Tianji heard this figure, his heart skipped a beat. Han Yang ran so fast just now. Could it be that he sensed in advance that the sect master would catch him thinking about crossing the cliff? If that's the case, then that kid is too evil. Chapter 63, New Han Yang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yanhua Valley is located on the edge of the monster forest, 2 days' journey from the Yuanmen mountain gate. In the valley, high-level monsters often appear, even 7th-level bone-forging warriors must travel together before they dare to go deep, but Han Yang, an expert in art, was brave. After leaving Yuanmen, he went straight to Yanhua Valley alone. All the monsters he encountered on the road became their dead souls under his sword. After thinking about crossing the cliff and breaking through 2 realms in succession, he actually felt that his aura was somewhat unstable. Along the way, I happened to practice with monsters to stabilize my realm. When he arrived at Yanhua Valley 2 days later, not only had his realm been polished, but even the snow-white blade of the Xianxia Dao was covered with a layer of blood. The mark of the 4 symbols cursed seal knife and white tiger killing became clearer than ever before. Han Yang estimated that if he fought against the ancient elder again, the knife would not be as simple as cutting through his skin, but would definitely cut off the opponent's arm. The 4 symbols cursed seal knife, especially the white tiger killing, is a battlefield killing technique. The more you kill, the stronger you become. Nowadays, the killing power of the seal in this sword technique is no longer weaker than the most powerful blow at the peak of bone forging. Although there was only one sword, as long as the chi gathering power did not come out, Han Yang felt that he would be safe. Stop! That the moment his figure approached Yanhua Valley, a group of people surrounded him and stopped him. The leader has the peak cultivation level of the 7th level of bone forging, and the other 5 people are also at the 6th level of bone forging, and they are all wearing Yuanmen clothes. Han Yang casually took out the token and waved it in front of everyone. Elite Order. A little guy at the 5th level of bone forging can actually get an elite order and enter Yanhua Valley. Whose disciple are you, little guy? That the leading warrior glanced at the token and looked at Han Yang in great surprise. The ruins of Yanhua Valley are now in existence, and an ordinary 7th level bone forging person like him can only act as a gatekeeper on the periphery. Only the core and even direct disciples of the Jade Bones and Golden Bones are qualified to enter the valley to explore. However, all of those people have achieved the 6th level of bone forging or above. Han Yang is definitely the first to reach the 5th level of bone forging like this. Han Yang just looked at him indifferently and did not answer his question. The man had a stern expression on his face, handed a map to Han Yang's hand, and said, "Senior brother, I have good intentions. With your level of cultivation, you might fall if you don't go in. Do you really think the ruins are a good place? Come on, since you have the elite order, we can't stop you. This is the map to the temporary headquarters. Go there to accept the mission before you can enter the ruins." After saying that, he took the people away directly, obviously unable to bear the coldness arousing from Han Yang. After casually looking at the map, Han Yang swooped into Yanhua Valley. Based on the map he had just seen, he headed straight for the ruins, not taking the man's words seriously at all. In Yanhua Valley, there are towering ancient trees. Even during the day, under the cover of the huge tree canopy, only sporadic sunlight can be projected to the ground. The overall environment seemed a bit eerie and cold. Not long after entering Yanhua Valley, you can smell the smell of corruption, but what is very strange is that there are no sounds of insects or birds in the woods, let alone any monsters. In Yanhua Valley, it was as if there was no life at all. Boom, boom. Kill. Surround it and don't let it escape. After running for dozens of miles, Han Yang suddenly heard the sound of fighting. He paused, turned around, and ran towards the direction from which the sound came. Approaching the battlefield, Han Yang jumped up onto an ancient tree and looked down at the outcome of the battle. On a hillside, there were 3 warriors dressed in Yuanmen costumes, fighting around a tall man. Han Yang discovered that the man being besieged was as strong as Shi Gandang, who wanted to attack him that day. No. That is not a human being. After taking a closer look, he noticed something strange. The big man among them looked like an ordinary person, but his body was stiff, his face was bloodless, and his whole body exuded a rotten smell. Unable to speak, he could only roar like a wild beast. His eyes were even bright red, as if he was irrational. This is a zombie. Reborn in his 9th life, Han Yang has seen countless new creatures, and zombies are the most special kind among them. The zombies are born from the grievances of heaven and earth and are immortal. They use grievances as their strength, feed on blood, and use the blood of all living beings to vent their endless loneliness. However, according to common sense, the aura of heaven and earth in this small world is not enough to breed powerful creatures like zombies. So that's it. It's not really a zombie. At most it's just a wandering corpse, somewhere between a corpse and a zombie. After observing for a moment, Han Yang discovered a clue: this kind of monster is much weaker than the invulnerable zombies. There is no zombie with the ability to jump out of the 3 realms and out of the 5 elements. However, even the weakened version of zombies is not something that 3 Yuanmen disciples can handle. In just a moment, the 3 Yuanmen disciples at the 6th level of bone forging were all defeated and fell below. Thinking that he needed to obtain some information about the ruins from others, Han Yang drew out the Tianke sword and jumped down from the tree crown. Cut. 16 golden bones flashed with light, and Han Yang slashed with his sword, like a god of war, when the Tianke sword hit Yuji's arm hard, making a sound of gold and iron. The wandering corpse staggered and was knocked back 7 or 8 steps, letting out an angry roar. Good opportunity. Come on. The 3 Yuanmen disciples took a breath and swarmed forward with weapons in hand, cooperating with Han Yang to take action. There was silver light shining on them, and they were all geniuses condensed into jade bones. The 4 of them joined forces and took more than a dozen breaths to chop off the head of the wandering corpse and kill it. Only then did the 3 Yuanmen disciples calm down. The leading female warrior raised her hands and said, "Thank you, junior brother, for your help. Otherwise, the 3 of us would have died in the hands of this bronze corpse." Han Yang said politely, "There is no need to be polite between fellow students." The female warrior glanced at Han Yang with a hint of confusion and said in surprise, "My core disciple Lu Ran, my junior brother looks very unfamiliar. I wonder which one he is the direct descendant of." Those who can forge golden bones on the steps to ascend to heaven must be their direct disciples, but there are only a dozen or 20 direct disciples in the Yuan sect. But Lu Ran has never seen the person in front of him. Han Yang smiled slightly, showed the token given by Tian Ji, and pulled the tiger skin of deputy sect leader Tian. Lu Ran immediately stood in solemn respect. He cupped his hands and said, "It turns out he is under the sect of deputy sect master Tian." The rest of the people also respected Han Yang a lot. The name of a person, the shadow of a tree. Tian Ji is not only the deputy sect master, powerful in gathering energy, but also the best swordsman in Yuan sect, so he will naturally be respected by his disciples, with the grace of saving their lives first. And with Tian Ji's status as a direct descendant, Lu Ran and the others were completely unprepared for Han Yang. When he asked questions, he told everything he knew. In Yanhua Valley, wandering corpses are now overflowing. The seniors of the sect have divided them into 4 levels: gold, silver, copper and iron. What we just killed was a copper corpse, which is not weaker than the 7th or 8th level of ordinary forged bones. Especially, the defense power is extremely amazing. I really want to thank my junior brother for taking the initiative. After Lu Ran introduced him, he thanked Han Yang again for his life-saving grace. When I entered the valley, I heard that I could receive tasks at the temporary headquarters. I wonder what kind of tasks are there. Han Yang was happy to get useful information for himself from these simple young people. Mentioning this, Lu Ran and the other 3 people's faces showed signs of indignation, as if they were full of anger. Lu Ran said angrily, "It's not those bastards from the Burning Heaven clan. They knew about the existence of the ruins from somewhere, and actually infiltrated into the Yanhua Valley to fight for the treasures of the ruins." Chapter 64 Conditions for Entering the Ruins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Burning Tianmen. This is a name that is somewhat unfamiliar to Han Yang. Lu Ran glanced at him in surprise, surprised that this powerful direct disciple didn't even know such basic common sense. The Fenshin clan is one of the 8 gates of Nanyang, just like my Yuan clan, but they have always been at odds with each other. Fights often occur, and each of us has suffered injuries. Nanyang County, there are 8 major sects in total, and Yuanmen is considered one of the 3 strongest sections. The strength of Fenshin clan is still higher than that of Yuan clan, and it is the largest sect in Nanyang County. Of course, Yuanmen disciples would never admit this. It can even be said that if it were not for the prestige of Yuan Zong to suppress it, the Yuanmen would have been wiped out by the Fenshin clan 300 years ago. Even because of Shangzong's intimidation, Fenshin clan often fought with Yuan clan. This time when ruins were discovered in Yanhua Valley, they pounced on them. Like cats that smelled fishy smell, in the past few days, the Yuanmen's chi-gathering powers have been attracted to take action, and battles at the elder level have continued one after another. Perhaps because he did not want to cause commotion within the Yuan sect, the news was not spread back to the sect. That's it, no wonder. Han Yang had previously found it strange that Lu Ran and the others, who were second-grade geniuses with jade bones, could not be protected by the guardians and almost fell into the hands of the Bronze Corps. It turns out that most of the Yuan clan's power was dragged away by the Burning Heaven clan. Our mission is to hunt down the Burning Heaven clan warriors who have sneaked into Yanhua Valley. Sneaking in. I'm not afraid of your jokes, junior brother. It's no longer called sneaking. It's basically entering and breaking in openly. After chatting for a while, Han Yang had a better understanding of Yuanmen's situation in Yanhua Valley. I thought that this mysterious valley was controlled by Yuanmen, but I didn't expect that there would be such twists and turns. The four of them walked all the way and arrived at the temporary headquarters in the valley. Only then did Han Yang truly realize the seriousness of the situation. Outside the wooden house built on the hillside, Yuanmen disciples covered in blood were lying on 7 stretchers. The few disciples sitting or standing around were even more pale and their breathing was unstable. At a glance, they knew that a fierce battle had just ended. Elder Mu. Let me kill that beast Xiao Xuan. But before the four of them entered the cabin, they heard someone inside roaring hysterically. The voice was full of violence. Jiang Yunjian. Don't cause trouble to me. Your mission is to kill Duan Muqing. He is a greater threat than Xiao Xuan. Are you just going to watch that beast continue to kill our junior brothers and sisters? When they enter Yanhua Valley, they all have their destiny. They can't defeat Xiao Xuan because their skills are inferior to others. You. The quarrel didn't stop until Han Yang and the four entered the wooden house. Elder Mu looked at Lu Ran and the other three, his expression softened slightly, and asked, "Come back at this time. Has the mission been completed?" Lu Ran nodded, took out 2 red tokens and placed them in front of Elder Mu. Elder Mu finally showed a smile on his face. Okay. Being able to ambush Feng Hui and Yao Xingyue can be regarded as avenging Haoming and the others. I will give you 3-4 points each. Go down and rest first. Lu Ran nodded, and when passing by Han Yang, he cupped his hands and said, I'm going to rest and adjust first, and we'll meet again tomorrow. Han Yang smiled and returned the salute. Ha! You are a new disciple in the valley. Why are you only at the 5th level of bone forging? What is the sect doing? No, whose disciple are you? Why are you so unfamiliar? Elder Mu looked at Han Yang in surprise. Han Yang handed over the token given by Tian Ji again. Deputy Sect Leader Tian. What a joke! Elder Mu frowned. He was very courageous to dare to say that chi-gathering power was fooling around. Elder Mu, I want to enter the ruins, but I don't know. This place was too hostile and he didn't want to stay long, so he just got to the point. Into the ruins? Elder Mu laughed angrily. You are a 5th level bone forger, and you are the bottom of the pile here. It's good if you can save your life. You still want to enter the ruins. Han Yang shook his head and directly activated the power of his bones without saying a word. A layer of golden light shone. At this time, it is easier to win people's trust by directly showing your strength than wasting saliva. Golden bones. Not only Elder Mu, but also Jiang Yunjian, who had yelled at Elder Mu earlier, looked at Han Yang in surprise. The golden bone meant that he was a direct disciple, but Han Yang looked very strange, and he was not a direct disciple. Elder Mu, can you answer my question now? What should I do to enter the ruins? Han Yang restrained his light and looked at Elder Mu. Elder Mu took the token in his hand and looked at it front and back for a while. He found that it didn't seem to be fake, and his expression became a little weird. You want to enter the ruins? It's easy. But before he could speak, Jiang Yunjian on the side suddenly interrupted and said, Kill Xiao Xuan, the first-class genius of Burning Heaven clan, and I will guarantee that you can enter the ruins. Jiang Yunjian, shut up. Really? Elder Mu and Han Yang spoke at the same time, but what they said was completely opposite. Elder Mu looked helplessly at Han Yang, shook his head and said, Xiao Xuan started training 2 years ago. Although he is still at the 5th level of bone forging now, he is not far from the 6th level. Moreover, he also has golden bones. Obviously, he didn't think Han Yang could kill Xiao Xuan. Han Yang didn't bother to ask why the Burning Heaven clan allowed a first-grade genius to venture into Yanhua Valley, and asked directly, "You only need to tell me, kill Xiao Xuan, will you let me enter the ruins?" Elder Mu gave Jiang Yunjian a hard look. They were all such bastards, actually encouraging others to kill Xiao Xuan. Jiang Yunjian smiled disapprovingly. Geniuses are killed, not protected. Flowers in the greenhouse can never become talents. Even the Fenshin clan understands this and is willing to let Xiao Xuan take risks. Why can't you think of it, Elder Mu? Got it. These words silenced Elder Mu. Jiang Yunjian's killing was right, but, if the person in front of him was not Xiao Ran's opponent, then, Han Yang chuckled, nodded and said, "Okay. I will accept this task. Give me information about Xiao Xuan." "No, I can't let you take risks. Every golden bone successor is the seed of the sect's rise, and you can't die in vain." Elder Mu refused without even thinking. Even if he was convinced by Jiang Yunjian in his heart, he would not let Han Yang take the risk. "Even if you want to go, you have to wait until the guardian returns. If you go hunting Xiao Xuan at this time, you will escape death." Han Yang directly passed Elder Mu and said to Jiang Yunjian, "Senior brother Jiang, do you have information about Xiao Xuan over there?" "Of course." Jiang Yunjian slapped Han Yang heavily on the shoulder. "Good boy, if you can come back alive, you will be my brother, Jiang Yunjian." Han Yang was speechless. "As for feelings, I also feel that I am no match for Xiao Xuan." "You two are really messing around, ugh." Elder Mu sighed helplessly, feeling that he was indeed old and far less vigorous than the young people. Yanhua Valley, on the hillside, a young man wearing a bright red shirt, with a smile on his face and a joking look on his face, shook off the blood on his long sword and kicked away the corpses of several Yanhua Valley disciples in front of him. "Old man, tell me, I have killed 9 Jade Bone Realm wastes. Will the Yuanmen be fooled?" The young man spoke to the deserted woods as if talking to himself. Not long after, an indifferent voice came from the void. "Not enough. At least, we have to kill 3 or 5 first-grade golden bone geniuses before we can attract the Wine Sword Immortal. The author has something to say. 3 updates a day are guaranteed. Brothers and sisters, please leave a review, give a reward, and give me a 5-star rating." Chapter 65 Xiao Xuan's Head is Mine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. While Elder Mu was introducing information about Xiao Xuan to Han Yang, bad news came one after another. At 2:15 p.m, Xiao Xuan was 20 miles away from the southern slope of Yanhua Valley and killed Du Hua, the second-grade genius of the Yuanmen Golden Bone. At 3:15 p.m, Xiao Xuan was 60 miles away from the southern slope of Yanhua Valley and killed Xianxia, a first-level genius of the Yuan sect's Golden Bone. Not a moment later, Xiao Xuan was 30 miles away from the eastern slope of Yanhua Valley and killed Zhao Heng, the second-grade genius of the Yuanmen Golden Bone. In less than an hour, 3 Golden Bone geniuses from Yuanmen died in Xiao Xuan's hands. When the news came back to the temporary headquarters, Elder Mu's face was ashen, as if he had aged dozens of years in an instant. If Jiang Yunjian was still here, he would have killed him at all costs. "Burning Tian clan, this is, trying to cut off the roots of our Yuan clan." Elder Mu's voice was trembling, and his fingers were shaking slightly uncontrollably. In each martial arts competition, only 2 or 3 people can complete the tempering of golden bones. These people are the future hope of Yuanmen, but now, 3 people were killed by Xiao Xuan in just 1 hour, not to mention, there is a first-grade genius among them. For Yuanmen, it is a loss that is simply unbearable. Han Yang looked calm and glanced at the corpses of the 3 Yuanmen genius disciples. With the eyesight of the god of war in his previous life, he immediately discovered that Elder Mu and others had misjudged Xiao Xuan's strength. Where is the 5th level of bone forging? It's clearly the 6th level of bone forging. Maybe it's more than that. The 3 disciples of the Yuan sect were obviously killed by having their golden bones shattered by someone with crushing strength. The other injuries on their bodies were all deliberately arranged after death. This method of spreading suspicion can hide people from Yuanmen, but it cannot hide Han Yang. Elder Mu, I will go and bring Xiao Xian's head back right now. Han Yang made a plan and left the wooden house without stopping. Looking at Han Yang's retreating back, Elder Mu hesitated and wanted to stop him, but he didn't know how to speak. You can't force someone to stay. I wish you a long way to go, Deputy Sect Master Tian. I hope you have accepted a good disciple. The eastern slope of Yanhua Valley is 60 miles away. The long sword in Xiao Xian's hand slowly drew out from the chest of a Jade Bone Realm Yuanmen disciple. The Yuanmen genius who had reached the 7th level of bone forging in front of him slowly fell down unwillingly, with a look of disbelief still in his eyes. Compared to Li Xuanyu, I am now more interested in the ruins of Yanhua Valley. It must be very difficult for the genius of Yuanmen to continue like this. For Xiao Xian, killing a Jade Bone genius would not cause the slightest ripple in his heart. In his eyes, the Jade Bone genius was not even an appetizer. His goal is to lure out the Jiu Sword Immortal. There is silence in the ancient woods with mottled light and shadow. The person hiding in the dark seemed to have disappeared. Boring. Shaking away the blood on the long sword, Xiao Xian was ready to leave this place and continue to hunt the 1st and 2nd grade Golden Bone geniuses of the Yuan sect. Only by hunting down the Golden Bone genius can the Yuanmen feel pain and attract Li Xuanyu, the drunken swordsman who listens to orders but not the propaganda, and does not act with the Yuanmen's large forces. Rustle. At this moment, there was a faint sound of footsteps, which made the corners of Xiao Xian's mouth curl up. I have always hunted others, but I didn't expect that someone would dare to hunt me. Following his contemptuous laughter, 4 figures walked out of the woods, 4 Jade Bone Realm Yuanmen geniuses at the 6th level of bone forging. Among the 4, the leader turned out to be a graceful woman. The woman raised her sword and shouted angrily, Xiao Xian, today is the day you die. Xiao Xian glanced at them indifferently, and chuckled, is the Yuanmen's Golden Bone genius already dead? I actually let you Jade Bone wastes come forward to die. The faces of the 4 Yuanmen geniuses were ashen. They are all Jade Bone Realm geniuses, and they are all famous talents no matter where they are placed, but in Xiao Xian's words, he became a trash destined for death. This made the 4 people feel humiliated, but they have no choice. At this time, Xiao Xian had become an evil dragon in Yanhua Valley, making the entire Yuanmen extremely restless. Geniuses in the Golden Bone Realm are so rare. There are only 4 people in Han Yang's class. In 10 years of martial arts selection, there are no more than 30 or 40 people at most. If we exclude those at the peak of bone forging like Su Ziren and those at the advanced stage of bone forging like Jiang Yunjian, there will only be a dozen people left in the bone forging realm. At most. But now, Xiao Xian actually killed 3 people with 1 sword. How can the Yuanmen disciples be willing to do this? The 4-woman team came specifically to hunt down Xiao Xian and avenge their fellow sect members. Xiao Xian. You have been a beginner for 2 years and Xianxia for 3 years. Why don't you compete with her? The woman glared at Xiao Xian angrily. These genius disciples always have guardians around them, but they have never suffered such a heavy loss. In the past few days, geniuses in the Jade Bone Realm and even the Golden Bone Realm have died as if they were worthless. For many Yuan sect geniuses, their inner defenses have almost collapsed and they have lost their former composure. Haha. Xiao is waiting for Li Xuanyu. The woman thought that Xiao Xian would be in awe when she mentioned Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal. However, she did not expect that this guy still had an unruly expression on his face. You. I'm too lazy to wait for you to talk nonsense, so just die. The woman wanted to say something else, but Xiao Xian had already taken action. 18 golden bones flashed with brilliance, and his figure shot towards the 4 people like an arrow from a string. Start the formation. The leading woman gave a soft drink, and the 4 of them instantly formed a formation. The gun in the woman's hand is the gallbladder, the sword in the man's hand is the wings, and the sword in the other man's hand is the scorpion tail. He is worthy of being the core genius disciple of the Yuan sect, and his every move is a fierce killing move. The martial arts will of the 4 people almost merged together, rising like wolf smoke, causing the surrounding leaves to fly. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of metal clashing was exciting. However, the leading woman was thrown away in the blink of an eye, with blood spraying from her mouth. The 2 men holding knives also had trembling arms and could hardly hold the knives in their hands. They retreated one after another and barely stopped until they hit the ancient tree behind them. The swordsman who delivered a fatal blow as a scorpion tail stinger also received a fatal blow from Xiao Xuan. The bones on the latter's body burst out with golden light again. 25 golden bones shine together. The long sword in his hand cut through the sky and directly knocked away the sharp sword of the disciple of Yuanmen Kendo. The tip of the sword was like a poisonous snake spitting a message and kissed the disciple's throat. 5th level peak. You have been hiding your strength. That the other 3 genius disciples were furious, but they had no chance to save their fellow disciples. They could only watch helplessly as the swordsman disciple was about to be killed with one blow, but, at this moment, a fierce sword light, like a flying fairy from outside the sky, fell from the sky, bang. The sword light struck directly on Xiao Xian's long sword, deflecting the sword he was determined to win. No one can protect the person I, Xiao Xian, want to kill. Xiao Xian's eyes flashed sharply, his arms suddenly turned at an incredible angle, and the sword edge still touched the neck of the swordsman disciple. He actually tried his best to resist the swordsman's blow and kill the disciple. This shows his decisiveness and ruthlessness. Same. I, Han Yang, don't kill the people I want to save just because I want to. The blade turned and the sound was cold. What a pity. The sad sword intent bloomed in the void. Chapter 66 Invincible and Invincible. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although Han Yang looked down upon this sword that regretted the sky, it was undeniable that the artistic conception contained in Yantiei's sword that regretted the sky was extremely powerful. The meaning of heaven and earth in it can reach directly to the souls of all warriors. Who has never had regrets? Everyone has regrets, even a genius like Xiao Xian is no exception. The moment Zanshan slashed his sword, there was a moment of confusion in Xiao Xian's eyes. If he had reached the pinnacle of martial arts as soon as possible, his parents would not have died at the mouth of the monster. It would be regretful, or even, guilt, but as soon as this thought came up, Xiao Xian immediately woke up, swung his sword and cut off the love, all of which cut away the regret in his heart. Interesting. On Xiao Xian's body, there were golden bones shining brightly again, 40 golden bones. This Xiao Xian is already at the 6th level of bone forging, and he is not the first to enter the 6th level. In 2 years, nearly 40 bones have been forged. Xiao Xian's talent in bone forging is even stronger than that of the famous Su Ziren. As long as he does not perish, this child will definitely become a gathering of energy in the future. Boom! With the terrifying power erupted from the 40 golden bones, Xiao Xian nearly knocked the Tiankei sword away. Sliding in the air and retreating 10 feet away, he looked with burning eyes at Han Yang, who was wearing 2 swords at his waist and dressed in white as snow. 2 years after debuting, this is the first time that I have suffered a loss at the hands of my peers. Are you also a Yuanmen disciple? Xiao Xian raised his eyebrows when he discovered that what Han Yang was wearing was not Yuanmen clothes. Han Yang flicked the Tiankei knife with his fingers and asked calmly, "Is this important?" Xiao Xian laughed, and immediately his face became extremely ferocious. "It's not important. You are going to die anyway." At this time, the Kendo disciple who was lucky enough to survive had just retreated to his 3 fellow disciples. The 4 of them all turned pale and were horrified. No one expected that this Xiao Xian was hidden so deeply. Rumor has it that he only has the 5th level of bone forging, but in reality, he not only reaches the 6th level of bone forging, but also has 40 golden bones. With such a talent, no one in the Yuan sect, except for the Zhujiangxian, can compare with Xiao Xian. Only, the 4 of them subconsciously looked at Han Yang, who was dressed in white. Who is this person who forced Xiao Xian back with a single blow? It seemed that he and others had not seen him inside the door. For a moment, the 4 of them looked at each other. Han Yang looked at Xiao Xian and chuckled. At this point, you are still hiding your strength. Should I say you have a palace, or should I say you are acting sneaky? As soon as this statement came out, everyone in the audience was shocked. 40 golden bones, but he still hides his strength? The 4 people in Yuanmen looked at Xiao Xian subconsciously. What kind of monster is this first-class genius of the Burning Heaven clan? If there is another hidden cultivation level, then he is no longer a first-level genius, but a super-level earth-level genius. Xiao Xuan's eyes narrowed slightly and he looked at Han Yang for the first time. Although he had just been forced back by Han Yang with a knife, he was absolutely sure that he could kill Han Yang. He, Xiao Xuan, is not afraid of anyone of his own age, but at this moment, Han Yang revealed the mystery with just one sentence, which made him feel slightly chilled. This guy in white clothes with 2 swords is weird. Xiao Xuan has such an unruly temperament. If there is something weird, then kill him and put an end to it. Ah. After a year of this, he shook his head and laughed. It's good, I can finally unleash all my strength unscrupulously. You should feel honored to die under my sword with all my strength. Before he finished speaking, the sword in Xiao Xuan's hand let out a high-pitched dragon roar. The sound of the sword's vibrating edge almost pierced the eardrums of the 4 women. Buzz. Amid the shaking of the sword whistle, Xiao Xuan swung his long sword, biting towards Han Yang like an evil dragon. Wherever it passed, falling flowers and flying leaves were crushed into powder before they could get closer. Sword domain, that the expressions of the 4 women suddenly changed, and they even couldn't help but rush out to block Han Yang's sword with their bodies. In swordsmanship, there are 2 roads to heaven, one is the sword intention. With the swordsman's understanding of the way of heaven and the way of humanity, he can enter his mind with the sword and use his mind to control the sword. The second is the sword domain, where the understanding of swordsmanship reaches an extreme, and with superb swordsmanship, an invincible domain is formed. Anyone who enters will die. There are 2 roads to the sky, and it is difficult to distinguish the superior from the inferior, but almost all swordsmen in Yuanmen understand the way of sword intention. Because the sword domain requires strong strength of muscles and bones as support, it is almost impossible to perform the sword domain without reaching the advanced stage of bone forging, and at this moment, Xiao Xuan, there were 63 golden bones shining brightly on his body. There is only 1 bone left, the 7th level of bone forging at the golden bone realm. Xiao Xuan's strength is already stronger than the ordinary 8th level bone forging, earth level genius. No more doubts. Only earth-level geniuses can reach such a state. The 4 women wanted to help, but it was too late. Xiao Xuan's sword is faster than them. In an instant, the evil dragon's giant claws were tearing at Han Yang's neck. The clouds follow the dragon, the wind follows the tiger. Today, I will try to see whether your evil dragon is more powerful, or my white tiger. Han Yang wielded the sword in his left hand, and the Tianke sword shined with unprecedented light. The perineum, Yutong, purple palace, and the 3 major acupoints opened up by the 9 turns of stars are bright with stars, and 16 golden bones are shining brightly on both arms. The 4 elephants cursed the sword, and the white tiger killed him. The dragon-slaying sword of the Burning Heaven clan is a sword realm, and Han Yang's white tiger killing is not a sword realm versus sword realm. Invincible and invincible. 2 unparalleled martial arts fields collided in an instant. Xiao Xuan's talent is extremely high, and the Burning Heaven clan's dragon-slaying sword technique is a top-level secret skill that is not weaker than the Zanshin Yida, but unfortunately, what he met was Han Yang, and what he met was the secret skill of the God realm, the 4-symbol curse seal sword. It can be called a crushing of dimensions. Boom. Almost as if it were devastating, Xiao Xuan's sword domain was directly destroyed by Han Yang's sword. The white tiger stretches out its claws and the evil dragon bows its head. The long sword in Xiao Xuan's hand was directly chopped away by the Tianke sword, and his chest was torn apart by the white tiger killer. Countless knife marks appeared on his chest. A piece of white soft armor blocked the blade of the Tianke sword, preventing Xiao Xuan from being dismembered directly, but the terrifying power of the stars and the 9 turns of stars art still penetrated into Xiao Xuan's body through the soft armor. At this moment, the unruly color in his eyes was almost completely gone, and the 63 golden bones on his body were broken inch by inch and became dim. Xiao Xuan was like a tattered rag doll, flying out of the air with Han Yang's knife. What happened? The 4 women who originally held on to their seriously injured bodies and rushed out with weapons in hand were all at a loss. Xiao Xuan, an earth-level genius, the peak of the 6th level of bone forging, with golden bones, who is comparable to an ordinary mid-level 8 bone forging expert, was actually defeated by this unknown white-clothed swordsman with a single sword. That swordsman was clearly at the 5th level of bone forging, with 16 golden bones. how can this be? The four people's views on martial arts were overturned by Han Yang's sword, the sword intention retreated from Xiao Xuan, and the sword domain broke through and killed the dragon. If this white-clothed swordsman is from the Yuan sect, he is definitely a super-level genius that is not weaker than Li Xuanyu, the wine swordsman, and may even be a heaven-level genius above the earth level. Xiao Xuan, a figure in Xuanyi flew out of the woods and caught Xiao Xuan who was flying backwards. After checking the latter's injuries, the face of the old man in black became extremely ugly, wasted. Xiao Xuan, the earth-level genius of the Burning Heaven clan who had high hopes from everyone and was known as the first person after the Wine Sword Immortal, was actually destroyed by a fifth-level bone-forging man. Even if it can be cured, it will take at least 1 or 2 years. After 1 or 2 years, Xiao Xuan's supergrade status will definitely fall to the first grade. Damn it, Junior. You deserve to die, that the old man in black was furious in an instant. There were 206 jade bones in his body, as bright as the bright moon, the peak of bone forging, the jade bone realm. If Xiao Xuan is just an evil dragon, then this old man is an evil dragon. Chapter 67 Evil Dragon Town. Everyone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Xuan and others planned to hunt down Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal, and naturally they did not rely on him alone. This old man is also one of them, a second-level genius, peak bone forging, and an absolute powerhouse. If the ancient elder faced this person, he would be killed in one move. The peak of the Jade Bone Realm's bone forging is equivalent to more than 400 ordinary forged bones. Not only is the strength hugely different, it is also like an insurmountable ravine. It's over, that the eyes of the four women instantly showed despair. They are just at the 6th level of bone forging. Although Han Yang is strong, he is still not as strong as the peak of bone forging in the Jade Bone Realm. At this time, Jiang Yunjian may be the only one in Yanhua Valley who can fight with this person. Unfortunately, Jiang Yunjian is destined not to appear here. Perhaps when the old man appeared, the fate of the 5 of them was a foregone conclusion. Looking at the light of the jade bones emanating from the old man, Han Yang sneered, "Let me just say, how can a mere 6th or 7th level bone-forging junior dare to kill people wantonly on Yuanmen's territory? It turns out there are people backing him." The eyes of the old man from Fenshin clan flashed with coldness. "You don't seem to be afraid of me." "Afraid?" Han Yang smiled casually and said, "I'm just a timid young man hiding in the dark." "How can I, Han Yang, be able to make me, Han Yang, say a word of fear?" These words filled the old man's eyes with a gloomy look. "Junior. You ruined my Fenshin clan's good deeds and seriously injured an earth-level genius. You really don't know how to live or die." Xiao Xuan was seriously injured, which certainly made the old man feel heartbroken and wanted to kill Han Yang on the spot. But more importantly, without Xiao Xuan's chess piece, it may not be possible to catch Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal. This is the most significant loss. Li Xuanyu, the wine sword immortal, is a heaven-level genius. If he doesn't die, he will definitely become a gathering of qi, and he may even have Yuandan in sight. If Li Xuanyu hadn't been stuck at the peak of bone forging for some reason and was unable to break through, giving the Brahma Heaven clan a chance, the Burning Heaven clan might have gone out to kill the Shangyuan clan at this time. With the grudge between the two families, if the Zhujiangxian continues to grow, sooner or later, the Burning Heaven clan will be wiped out. This time the Yanhua Valley ruins were revealed. The Burning Heaven clan had been planning for a long time. He did not hesitate to dispatch 13 Qi-gathering masters, hundreds of bone-forging peaks, and even used the earth-level genius Xiao Xuan as bait, just to strangle Li Xuanyu. I just didn't expect that the big fish Li Xuanyu didn't take the bait, but instead caught an evil tiger that didn't grow up. This young man in white is as talented as Xiao Xuan. Must kill. Han Yang looked at the old man and said thoughtfully, "You seem to be stalling for time. You are just a 5th-level bone-forging junior to me. There is no reason to be like this. Unless you are waiting for someone. Let me think about it. It's worth your trouble. I'm afraid it's only. Junior, you are looking for death." The old man's face was ferocious, and he finally couldn't hold back the anger in his chest. This junior actually saw through their conspiracy. "Can't wait any longer. Arrogant and ignorant junior, let me see who can save you today. That the old man supported Xiao Xuan with one hand, but a golden hook suddenly appeared in the other hand. Farewell hook. You are burning heaven clan. Xiao farewell. That the moment the Yuanmen female disciple on the side saw the golden hook, her body swayed and she almost collapsed. Farewell Go Xiao farewell, one of the most legendary geniuses of the Burning Heaven clan. When he was at the 8th level of bone forging, he used the Jade Bone Realm to kill the 9th level bone forging genius at the 1st level of the Yuanmen's Golden Bone Realm. As a result, the Yuanmen lost a Qi gathering seed and provoked the pursuit of the Qi gathering power, but he still survived, so he became famous. But he was a notorious person in the Yuanmen. It is almost impossible for Jade Bones to defeat Golden Bones, let alone the 8th level realm, which is only one step away from the peak of bone forging. Xiao Biejia's reputation in Yuanmen is not even lower than that of the Golden Three Sons. Now that this person has appeared, the 5 of them may have no chance of survival. Run away. Suddenly, the woman screamed at Han Yang, but she herself was holding a spear, like a moth to a flame, and rushed toward Xiao Beer, who was holding a golden hook. They can die, but Han Yang can't. Not only the woman, but also the other 3 people also made a decision at the same time and rushed towards Xiao Bielie with the intention of dying to delay Han Yang's chance to escape. You, leave quickly. In the ancient forest, the shrill sounds made by the 4 people were like weeping and complaining. The word escape actually seemed so tragic at this moment. Their actions, for some reason, made Han Yang feel boiling with fighting spirit. It's like dreaming back to the past life, when he was the god of war in the divine world, raising their arms and shouting. The magic soldiers and generals under his command shouted in unison, kill. Escape and kill are completely different words, but the determination surging in his chest is so similar. The fighting spirit burned in Han Yang's chest like wildfire. I, Han Yang, will not run away, and I don't need anyone to save me. I can only fight. He threw it with his left hand, and the Tianke knife was inserted diagonally into the withered leaves. Han Yang's right hand had tightly grasped the handle of the snowbreaking knife. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this scene, Xiao Bielie first sneered with disdain, and then burst into laughter as if seeing a ridiculous play. Young man who doesn't know his own abilities dares to swing a knife in front of me. Before he finished speaking, Xiao Bielie raised his golden hook and hooked it towards Han Yang's neck. The 2 of them were obviously more than 10 feet apart, but Zhao's hook suddenly appeared in front of Han Yang's neck as if it spanned space. Perineum, Jade Hall, Purple Palace, Huagai, Jiantu. The 5 major acupoints of the 9 turns of stars and Renmai surged crazily, squeezing out the power of the stars in the acupoints in an instant. Sanglang. The deceiving sword is unsheathed. The 4 elephants cursed the sword, and the white tiger killed him. Han Yang, reborn for the 9th time, fought 100 battles for the rest of his life, carrying the will of heaven and earth, go deep into the monster forest, kill countless 3rd-level monsters, and gather the white tiger curse seal. The 4 symbols curse seal knife connects the power of the 4 symbols. At this moment, Han Yang's power, mind, domain, and sword all reached their peak. Among the dark woods, there seemed to be stars coming from the west. Ouch! The white tiger roared, a shadow appeared, and Han Yang also slashed out. The most powerful sword. Xiao bid farewell with disdain and continued to move forward with the golden hook in his hand. In his opinion, the other party was just trying to control the chariot with its arms, struggling to the death. However, click. A crisp cracking sound sounded. The contemptuous expression on Xiao Bielie's face instantly solidified, because, at this moment, he felt the parting hook in his hands suddenly lighten. Broken. Named after himself, making himself famous in Nanyang County, the parting hook that shocked the Yuanmen was actually cut off with a single sword. Is it a spiritual weapon? Only then did Xiao Bieliang realize that there was something wrong with the snow-defying knife in Han Yang's hand, but it was already too late. Without weapons, he can only exert 70% to 80% of his strength. Not to mention, the mortal body is simply unable to fight against low-grade spiritual weapons. This is a spiritual weapon that even the powerful Qi gatherer can't produce in one's hands, and anyone who sees it will covet it. Boom! On Xiao Biel's body, the jade bones surged in all directions, and the strength of his muscles and bones exploded to its peak, and he barely managed to avoid Han Yang's knife, but, puff! Blood spurts out, and blood mist fills the sky. Xiao Xuan, who was unconscious in Xiao Bieli's arms, was directly decapitated with a knife. From the moment he swung his sword, Han Yang's target was Xiao Xuan, the earth-level genius of the Burning Heaven clan and the star of hope in Xiao Bieli's arms, and Xiao Biel's chest was also torn apart by Husha, leaving a blood groove, but at this time, he could no longer care about it. Staring blankly at Xiao Xian's headless corpse in his arms, Xiao Bielie let out a roar like a beast. "Ah, you little beast. I'm going to cut you into pieces." As if he was going crazy, he used all his strength to attack Han Yang. The author has something to say. If you think you can still read it, please give it a good review. Thank you guys. Chapter 68, A Drop of Wine and a Sword Kill Parting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Xian is Xiao Biejie's nephew and the hope for the rise of the Xiao family. He is even more important than Zhao's own life. Now, Han Yang killed him with a single blow in front of him. This made Xiao Bielie forget about hunting Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal. He only has one thought now, to kill Han Yang. Facing the attacking Xiao Biel, Han Yang still did not flinch and held the knife in his hand again. The 4 Yuanmen disciples next to them had their eyes red at this time. They never expected that Han Yang could drive back a Jade Bone Realm expert at the peak of bone forging with one strike, and even take advantage of the situation to kill Xiao Xian. This strength and calculation are probably 1,000 times more powerful than the so-called genius, but at this time, Han Yang was almost certain to die in the face of Xiao Bielie's furious killing. However, they had no ability to do anything for Han Yang and could only watch the latter being killed. Ah! The 4 disciples roared unwillingly and watched Xiao Biel getting closer and closer to Han Yang. 20 feet. 10 feet. 5 feet. This distance is already within reach for the peak of bone forging. Die! Xiao Bielyang's face was ferocious, and the half of the farewell hook in his hand emitted a coquettish silver light. He seemed to have seen the scene of Han Yang's throat being cut and blood splattering. Buzz. At this moment, a ripple suddenly appeared and rippled. Xiao Bier, everything around him seemed to be frozen. A strong aroma of wine dissipated. Everyone's eyes were focused in one direction. On a towering ancient tree in the distance, a woman in white appeared at some point. The woman is dressed in white and is as beautiful as a fairy. She is heroic and aloof, just like a fairy who has been banished to the world. Especially the action of holding a gourd and raising her head while drinking wine made her look more free and easy, adding a layer of unrestrained and charming demeanor. The appearance of this woman suddenly took away all the glory in the world. The eyes of several people present were focused on her uncontrollably. It was as if she was the center of heaven and earth. Drunken sword immortal. The 4 Yuanmen disciples all shouted out this woman's title. After seeing the world of mortals, I am already an immortal, drinking wine and holding a sword in the sky, wandering in the world and playing with the wind and moon, lying drunk in the clouds and laughing at the world. In the world, only Li Xuanyu, the master of wine and swordsman, has such an aloof and unconventional demeanor. Xiao Biejie, a peak bone forging expert at the jade bone level, could not even move a finger in front of Li Xuanyu. The Burning Heaven clan is really depraved. You have actually done such a nasty thing like bullying a small one. Then don't blame me for killing you. Li Xuanyu's jade-like feet were standing on the tree. His eyes were drunk and he was filled with murderous intent as he spoke. Han Yang looked at the woman in white with admiration, holding a sword and carrying a gourd. After being reborn in his 9th life, he had certainly seen many unparalleled goddesses who had conquered the country, but in terms of temperament, Li Xuanyu was unique and not inferior to any of them. Although he is young, he is outstanding. Ha 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 ha. Li Xuanyu. You are indeed here. You are actually here. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Bielie was actually smiling at this moment. His facial features were distorted, and his laughter was filled with murderous intent, but Li Xuanyu didn't pay attention to his abnormality at all. He flicked the wine gourd, and a drop of wine turned into a water sword, buzzing and flying on his fingertips. The surging sword intent suffocated everyone present. Go! Li Xuanyu flicked his finger, and the water sword suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Xiao Bielie. Xiao Bielie's laughter turned into shock in an instant. In a hurry, he hurriedly moved 206 jade bones to try to block the water sword. Unfortunately, he couldn't resist this sword at all. Click. In the crisp sound, half of the farewell hook in Xiao Billy's hand exploded inch by inch, turning into fragments all over the sky. Then, there are his palms, arms, and half of his body. The light of the jade bone realm, like the light of a candle, was extinguished by this sword. His body stood stunned on the spot, but half of his body had disappeared. Why? After murmuring 3 words, Xiao Biel fell to the ground suddenly. The famous Xiao Biejia, who was at the peak of jade bone level bone forging, was killed by the wine sword immortal Li Xuanyu with 1 finger. Sharp. As expected of, the wine sword immortal, that the 4 Yuanmen disciples were trembling with excitement. Watching Li Xuanyu kill someone was simply a supreme enjoyment, no sloppiness, invincible. In the eyes of the younger disciples of the Yuan sect, Li Xuanyu, the wine sword immortal, is a symbol of invincibility. Even Han Yang couldn't help but smile. This woman stole all the limelight from her as soon as she showed up. Li Xuanyu, who killed Xiao Biejia, had no emotional ups and downs, just like crushing a bug casually. She looked to the left side of the woods with blurred eyes, breathed out a breath of alcohol, and said, "Why, aren't you coming out yet? Come out. Anyone else?" The 4 Yuanmen disciples, not knowing why, looked in that direction in surprise, but found nothing. But the next moment, 3 figures appeared from the woods like ghosts, as if they were already there. "You are worthy of being a wine swordsman. He can kill jade bones with 1 sword and has peerless grace." On the other side of the tree crown, there were 3 people standing, each of them shining with the light of golden bones. The moment they saw the 3 people, the 4 Yuanmen disciples felt as if they were struck by lightning. Wuhan Mountain. Mu Yun. Du Zifeng. The 4 of them recognized the identities of the 3 people opposite them at a glance. In fact, the status of these 3 people in Fenchen clan is as respected and noble as Su Ziren. The 3 of them are all first-level geniuses, and they are all at the peak of the golden bone level of bone forging. Among them, Wu Hanzhan is known as the most promising talent to gather energy, and his reputation is even higher than that of Su Ziren. Of the 3 of them, any one of them will be a hero who is famous for a while and surpasses his peers. When the 3 of them join forces, they can fight even if they are new to Qi gathering. Now, they appear in front of the wine and sword immortal Li Xuanyu at the same time, with an obvious purpose. This is a game, a killing game against the wine sword immortal Li Xuanyu. At this moment, the 4 Yuanmen disciples were filled with regret and wished they could kill themselves to apologize. If they had not been in danger, Han Yang would not have appeared. If Han Yang had not been attacked by Xiao Beer, Li Xuanyu would not have appeared. Everything happened because of them. If Li Xuanyu, the first genius of the Yuan sect in thousands of years, died because of them, those 4 people would really have to die. Among the few people, Han Yang was the only one who didn't have any unusual features. As early as when he was fighting Xiao Xian, he had noticed Li Xuanyu and the 3 people from Fenchen clan. Only, Han Yang looked at the 3 first level geniuses of Burning Heaven clan with a strange expression. It seems that the Zhujiangxian's concealment of his cultivation not only deceived everyone in the Yuan clan, but even the enemy, the Burning Heaven clan, was also kept in the dark. This huge loss was a fatal mistake. This time, Fenchen clan will definitely suffer a big loss if they steal the chicken but lose the rice. Tying the wine gourd in his hand back to his waist, Li Xuanyu showed a faint smile on his face. It's a bit interesting. Is this game set up to surround and kill me? That among the 3 first-level geniuses of the Burning Heaven clan, Wu Hanzhan, the leader, smiled and said, "Originally, the 3 of us have our own pride and disdain to join forces to kill people. However, if we can kill the Yuan clan's number 1 genius in thousands of years, even if we lose it once face, what's the problem?" Mu Yun, the only woman among the 3, looked at Zhujiangxian's graceful figure with a hint of jealousy. With cold eyes, "I have long wanted to smash your annoying face. Today, I will make you miserable." So damn. I don't know what kind of grudge she has with Li Xuanyu, but she is a genius who is so vicious. Chapter 69 Peerless Style. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Compared to Wu Hanzhan and Mu Yun, Du Zifeng seemed much colder. Why talk nonsense? The nights are long and the dreams are many, just kill him. That the rosy-faced Li Xuanyu blinked, looking slightly tipsy. You think you can kill me? that Wu Hanshan laughed and said, since you were stuck at the peak of bone forging and unable to gather energy, you have disappeared from everyone. You are not a heaven-level genius, but that's it. Before he finished speaking, Du Zifan on the side could not wait to take action. Boom. A branch as thick as a person was smashed directly under Du Zifan's feet, and his figure shot straight towards Li Xuanyu like an arrow from a string. They were both at the peak of bone forging at the golden bone level, so he didn't think he would be weaker than Li Xuanyu. 3 people joining forces. It's simply unnecessary. He alone can kill this so-called wine swordsman and trample him under his feet. Asshole! That Wu Hanshan and Mu Yun cursed angrily at the same time and took action one after another. The peak bone forging of the 3 golden bone levels, when they start at the same time, their auras are so powerful, the 4 Yuanmen people on the ground seem to have fallen into a Vichy hell. Their whole bodies were trembling, and they could hardly control themselves and fell to the ground. You guys, it's not good to live. Why do you have to break in when there is no door to hell? Li Xuanyu stretched his body lazily, showing off his graceful figure. She didn't notice at all that she was already in full bloom in Han Yang's eyes. After twisting his neck comfortably, Li Xuanyu gently placed his jade-like fingers on the sword crookedly straddling his waist, Zanglang. The sword was unsheathed and the blue dragon roared. Ah! Miserable cries sounded from the side at the same moment. Du Zifan, who was chasing him, was cut off with his sword, and the 2 corpses were smashed in the air. Not good. That Wu Hanshan and Mu Yun, who followed closely behind, hurriedly retreated as if they had fallen into an ice cave. However, it was already too late. Immediately afterwards, a sword light shone and passed in front of the 2 people. Get out of my way! Mu Yun let out a shrill roar, and the low-grade spiritual weapon in his hand glowed with unprecedented light. In order to surround and kill the Jiu sword immortal, the Burning Heaven clan unprecedentedly lent 3 low-grade spiritual weapons to the 3 of them for use. The funny thing is that at this time, it became Mu Yun's life-saving means. However, something happened that made her desperate. The sword light of Li Xuanyu, the wine sword immortal, directly cut off the low-grade spiritual weapon in her hand like it was destroying the dead. Puff. Mu Yun's head flew high into the air. Until the moment of death, her face still retained the last ferocious look, and she refused to rest in peace. Wu Hanshan, the strongest among the 3, was the most cunning. Almost as soon as the sword light in the hand of Xianxia lit up, he stepped on the tree trunk without hesitation, twisted his body, and ran away. Unfortunately, his escape speed was not as fast as Xianxia's sword. The sound of the dragon's roar sounded again. An arm flew into the air, and blood was thrown into the air, like the Wuhan mountain that was struck by lightning. His body staggered and broke several ancient trees before he reluctantly stopped. His clothes were all stained red with blood. Gather qi. Li Xuanyu, you have actually become qi gathering. You deceived everyone. Wu Hanshan's face turned pale, and he still had the aggressive look in his eyes, as if looking at prey in a cage. At this time, he was trembling all over and his hair was standing on end. Li Xuanyu, who had been at the peak of his bone training for 2 years and had stopped gathering energy, actually crossed that hurdle. This is a shocking change that is enough to change the structure of Fenshin clan and Yuan clan. Fenshin clan has attached great importance to Li Xuanyu's talent, and even dispatched more than 10 qi-gathering experts to mobilize the masters of Yuan clan. The purpose was to kill Li Xuanyu before he could gather his energy. Unfortunately, it's still too late. The 4 Yuanmen disciples on the other side were completely dumbfounded and turned to stone on the spot. 1 sword. Only 1 sword was used. Li Xuanyu, the wine sword immortal, killed 2 of the Burning Heaven clan's first-level Golden Bone Realm geniuses and injured 1. What kind of style is this? The siege that the Burning Heaven clan had planned so hard was actually broken by Li Xuanyu as if it were a piece of cake. Yuanmen has another powerful qi-gathering power. The 4 Yuanmen disciples were so excited that they almost danced. Above the canopy of the tree, Li Xuanyu, who looked as if he had never touched his hands, pursed his lips, touched the wine gourd at his waist, and murmured, gathering qi. I have already gathered qi. Could it be that? Don't you even know? Wu Hanshan was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. If it had been known that Li Xuanyu had successfully gathered qi, how could the Burning Heaven clan send 4 bone-forging realms to surround and kill him? What is the difference between this and committing suicide? You. Just as Wu Hanshan was about to say something, he heard Li Xuanyu take a sip of wine and say in a soft voice, "You can block my sword without dying. You have good talent, then." Just when Wu Hanshan was relieved and thought Li Xuanyu would say some sympathetic words and let him live, he heard the second half of the sentence that made him despair. "We can't let the tiger go back to the mountains." Before he finished speaking, Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal, flicked his finger again, a drop of wine turned into a sharp sword and shot towards Wuhan Mountain. "No!" Wu Hanshan roared angrily, waving the low-grade spiritual weapon in his hand, trying to block it. However, the water sword was like a swimming dragon, nimbly bypassing the spiritual weapon in his hand. Puff! The water sword penetrated his head directly. What secret method is this? Before he died, Wu Hanshan didn't understand why the water sword of Li Xuanyu, the wine swordsman, could die. The Burning Heaven clan spent a huge amount of money and did not hesitate to use Earth-level geniuses as bait to set up a killing trap, which was seen to be easily broken. In this battle, not only did they lose 3 Golden Bone-level geniuses and 1 Earth-level genius, the Burning Heaven clan also lost 3 low-grade spiritual weapons. It can be said to be a heavy loss. Li Xuanyu, the wine swordsman who killed 3 people, looked at Han Yang with confused eyes, raised his eyebrows slightly, and was quite surprised. "Hey, you have my token, will Yuanmen still confiscate your entrance?" That it seemed that Han Yang's action of blocking the beast tied by himself impressed her deeply. Even though he was slightly drunk, he could still recognize people. The 4 Yuanmen disciples all looked at Han Yang with envy in their eyes. Xianxia actually recognized this person. "You know, even the most powerful qi gatherer in the Yuan sect has no face in front of Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal." Even when the owner of the door greeted her, she always ignored him. Now, instead, I took the initiative to talk to this unknown boy. In an instant, the 4 Yuanmen disciples had already imagined countless dramas in their minds. Han Yang chuckled and said, "I have already started. I just like this white dress better." Unexpectedly, Li Xuanyu nodded in agreement. "It's just that the sect's clothes are too ugly, and I don't like it either." After saying that, she sighed and said, "Okay, I don't have time to chat with you anymore. If I expose a little bit of my qi gathering skills, I don't know what I'll do if I get nagging from those old men. Let's go, let's go." The white shadow on the tree crown flashed and disappeared. The wine sword immortal is like a divine dragon, coming and going without a trace, with ease. As soon as Han Yang felt emotion in his heart, he saw a white shadow flash, and Li Xuanyu's figure disappeared and came back. She stretched out her hand and took the low-grade spiritual weapons of Wu Hanshan and the others into her hands, not even letting go of the 2 pieces of the spiritual weapons that were severed. "Ha, I almost forgot to take it with me. This is a good thing, it can be exchanged for a lot of wine money." With a loud burp, Li Xuanyu disappeared again. In this area, there is only a scent of wine. Chapter 70 Yuanmen also wants to fish. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Until there was no trace of Li Xuanyu, the 4 Yuanmen disciples were still in a state of confusion. The wine sword immortal killed 3 first-level geniuses of the Golden Bone realm with 1 sword. Then, he discussed some issues about the beauty and ugliness of sect clothing with this unknown guy, and then, he left and came back again, taking away his trophies. It simply subverted their 3 views. "My disciple Mu Qianyu from the Yuan clan, may I ask my senior brother what your surname is?" That the woman took the other 3 people and saluted Han Yang. Han Yang's cultivation and talent made them heartbroken, and his relationship with Xianxia made them even more in awe. "Han Yang, I just started this year." Han Yang cupped his hands, then came to Xiao Xian's body and took out the identity plate from his arms. With this identity plate, he can obtain the qualifications to enter the ruins. "You just started, this year." Mu Qianyu and the others were stunned again. He defeated Xiao Xian, an Earth-level genius, and forcibly killed someone at the hands of Xiao Bieli, who was at the peak of Jade Bones. Such a powerful being is actually just a newcomer who started a while ago. What happened to them these days after they left the sect? Could this junior brother Han Yang be another heaven-level genius like Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal? No wonder the Xianxia, who had always been aloof and unconcerned with worldly affairs, was so pleased with this person's appearance. Can you still move? After getting the nameplate, Han Yang looked at Mu Qianyu and the others. They were seriously injured by Xiao Xuan before, especially Mu Qianyu. It is already a miracle that they can stand up now. Mu Qianyu hurriedly held up her hands and said, "Thank you, senior brother Han, for your concern. You don't need to distract us, just leave on your own." "Leave? Where to go?" "I'm afraid that within a short period of time, no one will be able to perform other tasks." Han Yang nodded. He had a good impression of these four people, knowing that he was defeated by Xiao Biejia. He still dared to rush forward and take his life to buy him time to escape. Such a fellow sect member was not bad at all. The other three male disciples were relatively confused and did not understand what Han Yang meant, but Mu Qianyu understood it instantly after being stunned. Li Xuanyu, the Wine Sword Immortal, has advanced to gather energy. This is such a big deal that it must not be exposed easily. Yuanmen can use this opportunity to do many things. They are afraid that their movements will be restricted to avoid leaking the news. Mu Qianyu was not unwilling, but was slightly excited. Jiu's Sword Immortal is a heaven-level genius. Now that he has advanced to gather energy, he will definitely enhance the style of our Yuan clan and severely defeat the Burning Heaven clan. Let's see if they still dare to be so arrogant. Han Yang smiled, but did not break Mu Qianyu's fantasy. Things were not as simple as she thought, just as Han Yang expected. Just a stick of incense later, a senior brother from the late bone forging stage arrived and brought the five of them to the temporary headquarters. Elder Mu obviously knew the course of this battle in advance, and the look he looked at Han Yang was extremely complicated. He never expected that Han Yang would be so outstanding. When Xiao Biel came forward, he also forcibly killed Xiao Xuan, which not only avenged an arrow, but also made great contributions to Yuanmen. "Elder Mu, this is Xiao Xuan's nameplate. When can I enter the ruins?" Han Yang didn't want to waste it and made his request directly. Elder Mu's expression instantly became awkward. "Well, Xiao Han, let's talk here." Seeing Elder Mu's appearance, Han Yang suddenly felt an ominous feeling in his heart. There won't be any mishaps about entering the ruins, right? Sure enough, after the two entered a secret room nearby, Elder Mu said nonchalantly, "Things have changed a bit. The sect wants you to cooperate with Zhu Jiangxian to implement a top-secret plan." "Sorry. I'm still more interested in ruins." Han Yang didn't even listen to the plan and refused directly. He has no interest in killing between sects, and there is no sense of accomplishment at all in killing a little guy like Xiao Xuan. Elder Mu hurriedly said, "Xiao Han, don't worry, the sect will never let you down. Once the thing is done, you will be rewarded heavily." "A big reward? If there are 100,000-year-old elixir, I can talk about it." Han Yang's words almost choked Elder Mu. 100,000-year-old elixir. Do you really regard Yuanmen as Yuan's own? Except for the jade on the earth Yuan jade by, the Yuan sect simply cannot produce so many thousand-year-old elixirs. It is the power of gathering energy, that is, using the 7-leaf elixir or the 9-leaf elixir. This kid really dares to speak like a lion. Seeing Han Yang's unkind expression, Elder Mu was helpless. Since he couldn't get enough oil and salt, what else could he do? Han Yang's ability to kill Xiao Xuan in Xiao Bielye's hands was no less than an earth-level genius. With such a status, even the most powerful Qi gatherer could not force Han Yang to do something he did not want to do. Bang! At this moment, the door to the secret room was pushed open. "Mama Gigi, I know you people can't achieve anything." The Zhu Jiangxian in white clothes walked in from the outside and sat directly on the stone bench beside him, like a blooming white lotus. "Okay, you go out, Han Yang and I will talk." Li Xuanyu waved his hand at Elder Mu and drove him away. Elder Mu left with a lot of gratitude. These two were both ancestors, and he couldn't afford to offend either of them. After taking a sip of wine from the wine gourd, Li Xuanyu said loudly, "The old men of the sect want us to follow the example of Wu Hanshan and Xiao Xuan and join forces to hunt down the bastards of the Burning Heaven clan." "I agree." Li Xuanyu's skin was very white, like icy muscles and jade bones, but his face had a blush from drinking, making him look extremely attractive like a ripe apple. Han Yang smiled and said, "Okay." If it were anyone else, there would be nothing to talk about, but when Li Xuanyu opened his mouth, it was different. The last time, Li Xuanyu took action and eliminated the beast tide, which relieved Han Yang from a lot of trouble and indirectly helped Han Yang. This time, she took action again and killed Wu Hanshan and others. Although Wu Hanshan and the others came here to strangle Li Xuanyu, if she didn't take action, Han Yang might have to explode a few acupoints before he could kill these three people by force. After the First World War, it took only a few months to recover, both emotionally and rationally. He felt that he should agree to Li Xuanyu this time. Li Xuanyu seemed completely unaware of his charm that captivated all living beings. A hint of naivety appeared on his crimson face, as if he was surprised that Han Yang agreed to join forces so easily. Elder Mu's good talk before was dismissed by Han Yang with 100,000-year elixir. As if he had thought of something, Li Xuanyu's already blushing pretty face added a bit of shyness as a little woman. Hey, you guy, I promised you in advance, even though I know that I am unparalleled in charm. It will inevitably attract bees and butterflies, but it is impossible for me to marry you. Marry me. Even if Han Yang was reborn for the 9th time, he still couldn't keep up with the Zhejiangxian's brain circuit, but it was only the 3rd time they met. Why did they get involved in getting married? I have a fiancé. Although he didn't understand what Li Xuanyu meant, Han Yang still stated his position firmly. Li Xuanyu raised his slender eyebrows and his beautiful eyes widened. What? Being a concubine is even more difficult. Han Yang. The author has something to say. If it looks good, please leave a comment and give it a thumbs up, I'd be very grateful.